Chapter 8. It's that stage of November when we get incessant rain. The kids in school move from class to class in a steaming, humid, soaking mass. I start reading A Christmas Carol with my mentor group, which always gets me into the festive spirit. Michael's boys group have settled down a lot now that one of their ringleaders, Tyler, is behaving himself. Liz's return is postponed, so that's on hold for now. We run the mock exam, and the marking fills every space in my week. But I've got the goal of clearing it before the weekend so that I can enjoy the 2 dinner dates Michael's booked in. Enjoy is perhaps the wrong word. I mean, Dan and Louise seem absolutely lovely. I'm sure it will be so nice to have lunch with them. But David and Adele? I have no idea what we're going to talk about with them. The best part will be the free food. Whatever supper involves. If it's just canapes, I'm going home. With marking the mocks, putting the marks onto Michael's complicated spreadsheet, and then filling out another analysis sheet, the week passes fairly quickly. I sit at the kitchen table on Saturday morning, eating a croissant with Dad and editing my fantasy story I've been working on for a while now. Since Michael went through it, I've been going through all of his suggested edits and comments, and it's given me inspiration to tweak the parts I wasn't sure about. Alice in Wonderland meets Game of Thrones is my current tagline to describe it. Nothing refreshes you from the grim reality of Widlock County like a fantasy world of assassins and sword fights. How's it all coming along then? Dad asks, nodding at the laptop. Lots to work on, I grimace. I've definitely been very off and on with my writing, always struggling to fit it in around school. I've been using Katie's room as my writing zone, but this morning I brought the laptop down to have a change of scene. And eat croissants. Your mother was like that with her paintings, he says, always making alterations here and there. I still feel a sharp ache when I think about Mum. She died when I was in school, and Dad and I haven't really seen eye to eye in the past about her. She went to Jamaica after my grandparents died to find her family, and then when she came back, we found out she was terminally ill. Dad is very forgiving, but even my good memories twinge with a bitter taste. It's hard to know when something's finished, I say. A comment Michael's made on the document makes my breath catch in my throat. It's the part where Alice, who's been chasing the shadowy form of her mother, instead of a white rabbit, chooses to pursue her target rather than her mother when faced with a crossroads. This feels wrong, he's written. Shouldn't she keep going? No, I reason to myself. Alice needs to give up on chasing something that isn't substantial and focus on her quest to assassinate the prince. But the comment bothers me in the kind of way when you feel intuitively that there's truth in something inconvenient. I close the laptop. I'm going to go for a walk to clear my head, I tell Dad. My house is in a quiet suburb next to a golf course, and I've got a favourite route that follows the path around the back of the houses, around the golf course perimeter and through some woodland. It's muddy enough to need wellies, and I throw on a few layers under my thick winter coat. I always feel the tension ease once I get under the trees. What if Alice did follow her mother? How would the story have to change? It feels like a Rubik's Cube. Once you move one thing, everything else has to shift too. The heart of the story is what happens between Alice and the prince. The mother, like the White Rabbit, is a peripheral figure, so it wouldn't work for Alice to pursue her instead of him. I have to admit, though, that Michael's instinct for story is very good. His sharp eyes spot anything out of place or inconsistent. He's actually a very good editor. Maybe we're both in the wrong job. I picture Michael and me working from home, his home, and eating croissants in our kitchen before opening up our laptops. I think both of us would get bored pretty quickly without the interaction of school. Michael definitely thrives upon the high intensity. I love the social element. There's always someone to talk to. On the ground a couple of metres away, a robin hops towards the side of the path. It reminds me of The Secret Garden, one of my favourite books when I was a child, where the robin points Mary towards the door, which leads her into the forgotten garden. What if the mother, White Rabbit replacement, points Alice towards the prince instead of a different direction? What if she goes through a door which leads into a maze? The cat and mouse possibilities are endless, along with building tension, perhaps an atmospheric fog. By the time I get home, I've mapped out a new scene in my head and bash it out on my laptop. It's changing the direction of the story, but I'm liking the feel of it. It's got an edge of raw energy, which wasn't there before. When Michael arrives, I'm just finishing up and I call him up to Katie's room. I just wrote a new sequence, I tell him, springing up out of my swivel chair and meeting him in the doorway. I can't wait for you to read it and see what you think. I throw my arms round his neck and kiss him. Wow, he says, slightly taken aback. His arms fold around me to hug me tightly against his chest, and when we kiss again, my stomach flips over. His hand smooths across my back, then stops. I think I just found a hole in your hoodie, he says. I pull back and survey my frayed appearance. I forgot I needed to change, I say. Why don't you read it while I get ready? I check Michael's choice of outfit, smart jeans and a casual shirt with a zip-up sweater, then leave him with my laptop while I go to my bedroom to find something suitable to wear. Riffling through my wardrobe, I realise how ill-equipped I am for this kind of social occasion. Usually, Saturday lunch at a friend's house would mean going over steps for a bowl of pasta, loungewear accepted. What do I wear for lunch with a couple I barely know? And also, given that we're heading to David's in the evening, what can I wear that will also be suitable for that? It has to be something that I don't wear for work. That's most of my smart clothes out then. I decide to copy Michael's dress code. Smart jeans? Fine. I pull on some dark navy skinnies. Maybe they are a little faded at the knees. Oh well. Casual shirt? Too cold. I root through my packed clothes rail, impatiently pushing aside all of the cluttered hangers. Why do I have so many cardigans? Finally, I find a baby blue knitted jumper. I haven't even put any makeup on. Jen, Michael says, outside the door. Can I come in? Sure. He steps inside and smiles excitedly. I really like what you've done. It works so much better. I'm so glad you agree, I grin. It's way more fun writing when someone else is reading it too. I think we should go now. He checks his watch quickly. I grab some earrings and a handbag and add a spritz of perfume on my way out of the door. You look great, by the way, Michael says, kissing me at the top of the stairs. I instantly sink into his arms, leaning against him like I've just exhaled every busy thought or anxiety, and enjoy that moment of my brain focusing on nothing but the soft warmth of his lips. His hands lightly rest on my waist, which probably is the only thing that stops me falling down the stairs. I'm so lightheaded I don't think I could place my feet one in front of the other without keeling over. We really should go, Michael says, but his eyes are holding mine and he doesn't move. I move forwards and kiss him again. You owe me for booking us onto 2 dinner parties in one day, I remind him. This is the least you can do to make up for it. What else do you want? He asks huskily. I smile and smooth my hand across his collarbone, resting it over his heart. Lots of things. I raise my eyebrows suggestively. We're going to be late, he says, picking my hand up and leading the way down the stairs. I call out a goodbye to Dad, feeling glad that he can't see me looking flustered. He'd be sure to read me like a 1970s Mills and Boon novel. I'm glad of the cool air when we open the front door. Maybe there'll be time after the lunch to go to Michael's house and see what happens. I'm willing to follow Michael's lead so we're not late for Dan and Louise, but David and Adele? I'm sure they wouldn't mind if we were fashionably late. Heck, I don't really care if they do, given that I'm looking forward to their company like a cat in the vet's waiting room about to be neutered. Now my similes are sex-obsessed. I try to shake my railroading train of thought as I get into Michael's car. There are 2 identical gift bags on the back seat. I got some wine and chocolates, he explains. Wow, you really think of everything. I don't know why his organisation still surprises me. I fidget in the passenger seat as he starts the engine. I can't stop staring at his hands, his strong arms, his broad shoulders. Looking at his profile, I love the angles of his face and his jawline. I bite my lip and imagine trailing kisses down his neck. Jen, he says, and I watch his throat as he swallows. I wanted to tell you something, if that's okay. This is it. He's going to say he can't keep holding back. At first, he thought he wanted to take things slowly, but now he's burning up with raging desire and wants to rip all my clothes off and ravish me in the back of the car. Yes, I whisper. When I was younger, I took a vow of chastity. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. It's a metaphorical cold shower on my fantasies. I'm standing in a monsoon when I wanted an Indian summer. What? My voice is an oddly high pitch. When I was younger, I took... Michael obviously thinks I didn't hear him the first time, rather than being utterly bewildered by the weirdest thing he's ever said to me. What, like a monk or something? I interrupt. It wasn't primarily for religious reasons. Michael's doing his thing when he talks like a textbook. I stare as he changes gear, and I can see him blushing. Are you going to explain this a little more clearly? I prompt when he doesn't elaborate any further. A Canadian organisation visited my school and ran an assembly. They were from a chastity movement similar to True Love Waits, if you've heard of it. I shake my head. It's big in America, he continues, speaking faster now. The idea is that you promise to wait until you're married before having sex. Sounds like something from the Bible Belt that Miley Cyrus or Britney Spears might advocate before blatantly disregarding it in their next mildly pornographic music video. Right, I say. Why? No contraception is 100% effective, he says. Textbook tone is back again. Plus the risk of STIs. The safest way to have sex is with one partner who has only ever had you as their partner. I like the idea of waiting. For my wife. I process this silently, and I can feel his inquiring stare. I'm not going to lie, the fact that he said the word wife is incredibly romantic and makes my stomach flip. The problem is that Michael and I are no longer alone in this car, but accompanied by the ghosts of my previous boyfriends. Am I going to have to explain how far I went with each of them with facetious precision? Have I disqualified myself as a partner for Michael if I don't match his requirements of exclusivity? I went to Widlock County, Michael, I remind him. No Canadian chastity groups came to us. Right. He nods and focuses on the road. I realise it is a little niche. I stare out of the window at a house with a for sale sign and a lady with a Dalmatian. How did I get from smooching on the stairs to this conversation? I mean, it sounds very noble, I say, waving my hand dismissively. But Michael, lots of people say this stuff, but they don't actually follow it. I remember in school, Miss Johnson told us that waiting for marriage was a Christian tradition, but not many people kept it now. Dan and Louise did, Michael says. Maybe you should ask them about it. Yeah, right, I scoff. Hi, I've met you once, and Michael says you waited until you were married before you slept together. Is that true? Like I'm going to ask that. I just wanted you to know that some people wait. Are they religious? They're Christians, yes. But you told me that you didn't sign up for this for religious reasons. Not primarily, but I was brought up in the church as well. In the church? What does that mean? My mum's parents founded a Pentecostal church, but she ran off with a yoga instructor. Do you still go to church? I ask, feeling on very uncertain ground. How is there so much about him I don't know? Not really, he shrugs. Only when I'm home. He carries on driving and I sit and fidget, forgetting about our imminent lunch and obsessing over why he's telling me this. This is forcing me to recalibrate our whole relationship. Maybe this is why he's been so weird about me going over to his house again. So you're telling me you're a virgin, I say, struggling to process without verbalising. Yes. Right. He must know that I'm not. Is he going to judge me? I never had any religious beliefs to uphold. Unless you count not wanting to walk under ladders. Although that was largely because one time I walked under some scaffolding and straight into a metal pole. I blame it on the rain because my coat hood was up. Okay, I tried to focus on the issue in hand. I'm surmising that you want to keep this vow of chastity. Yes, he says, trying to focus both on driving and on looking at me. If that's okay with you? Well, I don't know if I have much choice. I'm hardly going to coerce him. I've watched the consent is like a cup of tea video too many times in awkward PSHE lessons for that. So we can't have sex. Until we get married. I think I actually stopped breathing. He said, until. Jen, say something. He frowns. What are you thinking? My mouth is opening and closing, but no words are forming. Wow, I finally managed to speak. I wasn't expecting this conversation. I realise it's a lot to take in, Michael says. This is Dan's house. He parks the car outside a red brick terrace. This Saturday lunch is going to be nothing like I anticipated.